Morning, New Life Church. So you have just come off a week of prayer and fasting. And now today's Devo is on prayer and fasting. And so I want to bring up the invitation, which I normally say for the end, but I want to bring it up first and foremost now because we just finished doing prayer and fasting as an event, as a week-long process where we as a church all corporately fast something to seek God for what he wants to do in 2023 and for what he wants to accomplish through New Life Church. So today's invitation is simply this. Consider making fasting a regular habit of your life. We're talking about how do you put down good roots. We've talked about removing the bad roots, and now how do you put down good roots in the soil of your life? And one of those ways is through prayer and fasting. Not just once a year to launch something new, but consistently, regularly, as a discipline in which we seek God by giving up to fill up. In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus is basically going through all these works of righteousness, inviting us to do them not publicly for the praise of men, in which case you've already received your reward. But instead he's talking about fasting, and it's one of those rare instances in the Bible where they say fake it, right? Like he says, hey, when you fast, not if you fast. That's the thing you got to understand, is that Jesus isn't saying that maybe his followers were fast. He's saying when you fast, pour oil on your head, trim your beard, act like everything is normal. Don't walk around, woe is me, woe is me. Don't draw attention to the fact that you're fasting. Instead, fast in secret. And he finishes up this exhortation with a promise when he says, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. That's the thing you've got to understand is you're coming off of a week of prayer and fasting. I don't know if you're like, well, that was good. Same time next year. But the thing you got to understand is that, man, as much as fasting is a discipline, as much as fasting is hard, fasting is also grace. Because for some reason, the God of the universe has set it up in such a way that by abstaining from food in a certain way, for a certain amount of time, that he somehow leans in and listens to my prayers. In Matthew 17:21, Jesus is coming off of the Mount of Transfiguration. Peter, James, and John have seen him in his true glory, and as he comes down, he finds the B team, right? The other 9. Trying to cast the demon out of a young man, and they can't. And they bring him to Jesus, and Jesus casts out the demon. And they're so confused. They're like, Jesus, we did what you did. Why didn't the demon go? Matthew 17:21, Jesus says, because this kind only comes out through prayer and fasting. So y'all, there are certain revelations that only come through prayer and fasting. There are certain breakthroughs that only come through prayer and fasting. There's certain deliverance that only comes through prayer and fasting. And so, man, if you participated in prayer and fasting with us last week, man, I'm so excited for you because fasting is grace, and I'm sure the Father rewarded what you did in secret. But again, the invitation today is not to fast as an event, but to fast as a consistent discipline that strengthens your relationship with God, that puts your roots deep into Him. Because again, there are some things that only come out through prayer and fasting. So you might consider once a month taking a day and fasting. You might consider once a quarter repeating a week of prayer and fasting. Whenever we enter into the season of prayer and feasting that comes in September, man, consider secretly making it a time for you of prayer and fasting. Because again, what we do, the Father rewards what we do in secret. And there are some things that only come out through prayer and fasting. So use that discipline to put your roots down